Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about how to play 7th chords all over the guitar, starting from the 6th string root, the 5th string root, and also the 4th string root. Okay? So basically, if you take a look at our chord chart here, we see that we have 3 different versions of the C major 7 chord. On the left we have the version that starts from the 6th string root, in the middle we have the version that starts on the 5th string, and then on the right we have the version that starts on the 4th string. So to play a major 7 chord in this shape, we're going to start from the 6th string. We're going to put our first finger on the 8th fret, then our third finger on the 9th fret of the 4th string, our pinky on the 9th fret of the 3rd string, and then our second finger is going to go on G, which is the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Okay, so that's a basic way to play a C major 7 chord starting from the 6th string. Also, we could take the major 7 here and move it up an octave, so it'd be on the 1st string, which is a B. So we could also play this minor triad, which is an E minor triad, over C. We can use our thumb, or we could also try to finger it this way. But just so you know, with some of these chord shapes, we can take some of those notes and move them up an octave, so we get different voicings. But they both have a 6th string as the root. Okay, and then with the C major 7 chord, starting from the 5th string, we're going to create this shape here, just kind of like a triangle, and then we have the root on C. Okay, so first finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, third finger on the 4th string 5th fret, second finger on the 3rd string 4th fret, and then our pinky is going to go on 5 on the 2nd string. So it's like 3, 5, 4, 5. Now if we bar that chord, like in the picture, we can also get a high G in there, which is the 3rd fret of the 1st string, right? Okay. Now with this chord, we can also play only the inner 4 strings, if we don't want to play all 5. We can also choose to skip over the string below the root note, like we did in the other chord. So basically we could take this shape here and play only the 5th string and then the first 3 strings, which gives us a different voicing. And then with the shape that has a root on the 4th string, we basically play it real simply like that. Just first finger on the 4th string 10th fret if we're in C, and then we're going to lay our third finger across the 12th frets of the first 3 strings. Okay, and then on to our dominant 7th chords. So they're very similar to the major 7 chords. If you just take a look at our chart here, on the left side we have our C dominant 7 shape starting from the 6th string, and then we have the 5th string, and then the 4th string on the right side. So basically the first shape starting on the 6th string is going to be like this. Okay, now again that's very similar to doing the bar chord version of a G7. You still get the same notes in there, but in that case you're playing the 5th right here. In this version we're skipping over the 5th string, and we're shaping the chord differently. Now one major reason for that is that we can do alterations of the 5th a lot easier that way. So when we learn how to do a dominant flat 5 or a dominant sharp 5, we're basically going to be in the same shape. Okay, so for that chord we have our first finger starting from the root on the 6th string, 8th fret. Then we have our second finger going across on the 4th string, 8th fret. Okay. Then we're going to put our third finger down here on the 2nd string, 8th fret, and then bring our pinky up here to the 9th fret on the 3rd string. Okay, so that gives us our C dominant chord. Now if you wanted to try to throw the 7th up an octave, it would actually end up way over here. So it's kind of hard to do that chord without having that root note already being played. Okay? So in this scenario what we could do is shape it like this. I think it's easiest with the thumb. You could also bring this finger over here. It's kind of a cool shape. It's a little awkward. So generally we're going to play it like this with this voicing. Okay. And then for the C dominant chord starting on the 5th string, this is very common. It's just the good old standard version from the bar chords. Okay. And then we can also do the same thing with the 1st string. We can play that high G if we want. And we can also skip over the string below the root if we just want that voicing. Play all 5 strings, so we have the choice of how we want to play that. Okay, and then the dominant shape up on the 10th fret, starting on the 4th string, is going to be like this. Okay, So basically we have our first finger here. It's kind of like a major 7 shape from the 5th string. So we're basically doing the first finger with the triangle underneath that. Okay, so our fret numbers going down here are going to be starting from the 4th string, 10, 12, 11, 12. Okay, and then onto the minor 7 chord. Okay, now right off the bat, the one starting from the 6th string root can also be played like this, which comes from our bar chords, our standard versions. But basically in this version, we're going to actually skip over that 5th string. And we can play it with our fingers like this, straight across. Or we can also play it with our first finger just barring across the strings like that. So if you look at the chart for the minor 7 chords, on the left you can see the minor 7 chord that's just flat straight across those strings, starting from the 6th string, skipping the 5th string, and then playing the same exact frets on the 4th string, 3rd string, and 2nd string. And then if you look at our minor 7 chord version starting on the 5th string, it's a lot like a minor shape, like from the Cage system, like a C minor chord, but we're going to take out that extra C and we're going to turn that into a flat 7 on the 3rd string by lowering it down to the 3rd fret. And then we have our C minor 7 starting from the 4th string, which gives us this shape. Okay, and then if we take a look at the chart for the minor 7 flat 5 chords, you can see that they are basically like minor 7 chords with some variations in the notes. Okay, meaning basically the flat 5 is 1 fret lower on each chord. So besides that, they're pretty much the exact same. So if we take the first shape here, we end up with the frets 8, skip, 8, 8, 7. Okay, and you can see the fingering on the chart. Okay, for a minor 7 flat 5, what we got basically now is we've switched these fingers around in order to play this low note here. So basically what we're going to do is bar our first finger across and then play the frets 3, 4, 3, 4, like a zigzag. Okay. Now we're not going to play the first string in this case. We're not going to bar all the way to the first string because that would give us a G natural. So we need a G flat in order to make that work. So we could basically reorganize the chord like this if we wanted to, taking that flat 5 and moving it to the first string. And then our version here from the 4th string is basically pretty simple. It's a cool chord. Basically you just need 2 fingers for that. You could do it with your 3rd finger too if you wanted, but I use my first 2 fingers usually for that. Okay, so that's just 10, 11, 11, 11, basically going down with the first 2 fingers from the 4th string. So if we take a look at the chart for the diminished 7 chords, we basically see what we got to work with here. So these become a bit different because now we have to really rearrange our fingers to make some of these chords work. So basically with this chord what we're doing is we're playing the root note with our 2nd finger. And then we're creating this triangle here underneath that on the 7th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret. So that means that our first finger is barring across those notes on the 7th fret. So we basically get 8, skip, 7, 8, 7 as far as the frets go. Okay, and then with our version starting on the 5th string, we're going to do this kind of a shape here. Now, normally we're going to play that with just those inner strings like that, but if you want, you can also bar the first finger all the way across. So again, we have the same options with that. We can play the inner strings, we can skip over the string below the root, and we can change the sound that we get from that chord based on the voicings that we choose, or the strings we choose to play, basically. And then our C diminished chord starting from the 4th string is basically going to be 10, 11, 10, 11. Okay, so we're going to bar our first finger across here, creating that little triangle, and then we're going to put our 3rd finger down here at the bottom. So our frets again are 10, 11, 10, 11. Going down from the 4th string. Okay, and so those are the 5 main types of 7 chords. Okay, now we also have some other variations on those chords that we can take a look at. So if you see here in the chart, we also have the minor major 7 chord, which is very similar to the major 7, okay, but we have a flat 3 in there. So in this scenario, we have to use our fingers like this, as opposed to playing, we have to play the flat 3 in there, the E flat. So in the chart you can see the fingering for that. Okay. Same thing with the version starting on the 5th string. It's pretty much the same shape, just in a different spot. And we can add that, if we bar the first finger, we can also add that high G if we want it there. Okay. And then we have our minor major 7 chord starting from the 4th string root, which gives us this sound. Okay. So as you can see, we have our first finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger. It's kind of like a regular minor shape, as we would do on the 5th string, but we're going to move that down here. Starting from the 4th string, it gives us a minor major 7 chord. Okay, now we're going to go over how to do dominant 7 suspended chords. So dominant 7 sus4 or dominant 7 sus2. We have a dominant 7 sus4 starting from the 6th string root. Okay. Now that wants to go to dominant 7. Okay, so this chord can be played with either the 3rd finger or the pinky, whichever is more comfortable. Okay, and basically we're going to have our first finger starting on the root of the 6th string. We're going to bar that across all the strings here, and then we're going to play the 3rd string 10th fret, which gives us the suspended 4 of that dominant chord. And then for our version starting from the 5th string root, we're basically taking a standard dominant 7 shape, and then we're raising up the 3rd to get to that sus4 sound. Okay, it's pretty simple, just go 1 fret at the pinky. Okay, and so for our shape starting on the 4th string, we're basically going to take our standard dominant 7 shape that we did before, and then raise up that E to an F to the 13th fret. So I'm just going to slide the pinky at 1 fret. Okay, and on to the dominant 7 sus2 chords. So if you look at the chart here, we basically have our first version starting from the 6th string root. Okay. So we're going to play that across, starting with the 2nd finger here. 2nd finger, skip, 3rd finger, 1st finger, 4th finger, and those frets are 8, skip, 8, 7, 8. Okay. And then for our version starting from the 5th string, we basically have like a minor 7 with that middle finger dropped out. So now it's just straight across. So the frets are 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, basically. And then for our C7 sus2 starting on the 4th string root, basically get this shape. So we have our first finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, and 1st finger going across the frets 10, 12, 11, 10. So the first finger is barred across the first 3 strings. Okay, and if you take a look at our chart here, we also have the dominant 7 flat 5. Okay, so our versions for that, it's basically just the same as a dominant 7, but we're going to flat the G, or the 5th. Okay, so the first shape gives us, okay, so that basically means we have fingers 2, 3, 4, and then 1 being used to play the frets 8, skip, 8, 9, 7. Okay, and then for our version starting from the 5th string, it's basically the same as doing a regular dominant 7, but we flat the G. Okay, so that gives us this kind of sound. Okay, and so for our C7 flat 5 starting from the 4th string, we're basically going to play fingers 1, 2, 3, and 4 all in a row, playing the frets 10, 11, 11, 12, giving us a C7 flat 5. Okay, and if you look at the chart for the dominant 7 sharp 5 chords, the first one here starting from the 6th string root is going to use our first finger. So we're going to have fingers 1, skip, 2, 3, 4 all in a row, okay? Playing the frets 8, skip, 8, 9, 9. That's a dominant 7 sharp 5 shape. Now if we look at the version starting from the 5th string, we could do it this way. Okay. It's a little bit awkward. So sometimes we might throw that G sharp up on the 1st string and change it to like this. And then for our version starting from the 4th string root, we have fingers 1, 4, 2, and then 3. Okay. Playing the frets 10, 13, 11, 12. Okay, so if you look at the chart for the major 7 flat 5 chord, we're basically going to have starting from the 6th string root, 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger, and then 1st finger. Okay, playing the frets 8, skip, 9, 9, 7. Now if we look at the C major 7 flat 5 chord starting from the 5th string root, we're going to have it like this. All of our fingers in a row, playing the frets 3, 4, 4, 5. Okay, and then if we play that chord starting from the 4th string, we're basically going to have all 4 fingers in a row, okay, starting from 10th fret, 11th fret, 12, and 12. We can also choose to play that with a barred third finger playing the 12th frets. So we could also go first finger, second finger, and then bar the first two strings on the 12th frets. And then last but not least, we have our major 7 sharp 5 chord. Okay, so if you look at that shape, we basically have our first finger on the 8th fret of the 6th string, and then our other 3 fingers are all playing the 9th fret. Okay, so we basically have first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger all in a row playing the frets 8, skip, 9, 9, 9. Okay, and if we look at the shape that starts from the 5th string, basically we're going to have this version. Okay, so the voicing on that is a bit weird. So we're going to choose to take our sharp 5, the G sharp, and move it up an octave. So now we get this shape. Okay, so playing a C major 7 sharp 5 chord starting on the 4th string in this shape's a bit tricky to get it to sound correct. It's almost easier to play the root down here on the 5th string. Okay, so we just want to understand how this chord works theoretically to play in this same shape, but we might choose to do it in different ways, leave out notes if the other instrument's playing a C in the bass and stuff like that. But we basically want to understand how to create all of these different types of 7 chords and the variations on the guitar, starting from the 6th string root, 5th string root, and also the 4th string root.